Alright, it is a link 2 here, and I'm going to show you how to do all the quick macro, the camera locations, and get everything set up the way you would want to if you were coming from a different game. It doesn't really matter what that game is. Stormgate's got a really unique and I think pretty good overall way of doing things, and it does take a little bit of getting used to. I spent a lot of time trying about 7 million different things, and seeing what worked and what didn't work, and like how I could get the game to play the way I wanted it to. And it's one of the biggest frustrations kind of starting out. And I want to remind you, everything that's kind of we do in this video is going to be should be a downloadable file. If not, we'll cover everything and you'll be able to do it yourself and get the game exactly how you want it, because hey, everybody got their own customizations. We've all played games for a long time. You end up with a bunch of weird kind of quirky stuff. So if you notice, the first thing I did was just move my camera up a little bit, and so I can cover these two resources. You want to be able to see both of them, because you're not always able to just kind of by default camera. And it's, you just move it up, and then in my case, this is why I brought up the camera location hotkeys. Control F2 is going to set that as my home base, right? In Stormgate, camera location hotkeys are probably even more important than they are in StarCraft or Warcraft, right? They're going to help you move around the minimap just at incredible speed. If you've played a ton of League of Legends or Dota, like you're used to jumping to, your different laners with some of your F key stuff. Like, it's a really good way to move around the map, so hopefully you're used to it. But I'm just going to hit Control F3 here, and by these Ethereum, I'm just going to go Control F4, and we're going to go up here to our next location, which is our third base or whatever. Control F5, and then maybe if we get lucky we'll get all the way down over here, so I'm going to make that my next base. Now, if you're not sure how to get back home, we've got spacebar, which we'll take as there. However, if we have a bunch of bases all over the place, that's not going to work, right? How are we going to get back? Well, F2, camera location, F3, camera location, F4, camera location, F5, right? Like, I just move around the map. Oh no, my base all the way out here is getting attacked. Really easy to move. In Stormgate, it's really, really important, I think, to get used to that right away, which is why I'm strongly introducing the concept before we jump into the quick macro stuff. But now that we've got that out of the way, we can kind of move on, right? So if you notice, we've got our panel down here, right? Now I can still select these workers and make them do traditional stuff, right? But if you notice, they kind of queue it up, and it's, if I want to build 2 barracks, it becomes quite challenging, right? There we go, I have to do that. ZD again. I'm wasting a ton of button presses, and a bunch of extra workers are going over there. It's not very efficient considering what's available in the game. So again, we'll go back to our base here, and I can use quick macro. Now in my case, QWERT doesn't really work for me. I prefer those on spellcasters as my, got to rally back like a traditional Terran player, right? What I'm going to do is just fix that. So we're going to go certain options, hotkeys, and then we're going to go all the way down to the quick macro, which is all the way down here. This is why we spend so much time setting up our globals, is so that we can go here and we can change this. So what I feel works really well for me as a more traditional StarCraft player is I like to put build on 4. I thought about doing it with B, but you use B for other things and it gets in the way, and you could do it, but it's 4 you'll get used to basically. But if you don't want to do that, I'm also going to show you the alternative way to really just go completely ignore the quick macro and go full traditional StarCraft. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but it's up to you. I'll show you both ways, and we'll have hotkeys for both ways, okay? So now for train, this is your basic barracks and machine lab buildings, or sorry, robotic units come out as well. Train advanced is, I'm going to put that on 6. That's like more of our factory starporty type stuff that's going to go over here. And then upgrade, I'm actually just going to unbind that. I don't need it. I don't need advanced upgrade, and I've got this cycle here, and I'm going to set cycle to 7. Now if you're a player that is used to having your barracks, factory, and starport all together, or if you're used to having your command center with your upgrade buildings, you're going to understand what this cycle is. So the cycle is when you hit tab, right? Unfortunately, not fortunately. But in Stormgate, because you can have a bunch of units selected and build stuff, and that becomes much more important with different races. Vanguard a little less so. You kind of needed 2 cycles, and I'm going to show you how to use it. So this is how I like to do it and how I like to set up, even though I have a couple unbinds there. Again, if I want to build, like, I can't, that's like, I went full Terran, didn't I? Alright, so if I want to build, you know, those 2 buildings plus, you know, 3 barracks, I'll show you how much easier it is with Quickmacro, right? SS, give me one of those, give me one of those, give me one of those, right? And then the workers are all just going to go, walk over, build it, and then come back. If I want to power build one with extra units, I can, like a town hall and, you know, Warcraft or whatever. But typically, if I want to do that, I'll just go like,
complete.
I don't know, let's go get that barracks going. See that worker that was on his way back, like the closest worker. I mean, when to do it, now I can just grab these guys, make them go over there, and then have them come back in mine after, right? Now I'm going to power build it. That's how you can power build if you need to, but in general, you're just looking at going, well, okay, that's cool, like I want those things, right?
Complete.
Now, it just makes life very easy, right? You know, I want to build, you know, take this extra base, okay, cool. You know, I don't have my command center set up on the correct hotkeys yet, but, I mean, that's pretty easy, right? Luminite use it, or sorry, Ethereum use a different one, but different building typically. But again, like, there you go, I set up 2 expansions, right? It's not, you know, macro's not, doesn't have to be hard, right? Like, I feel like it's a good way to do it, right? Like, it's a Command and Conquer style menu, but totally handled differently. I like the improvement. I think if you want to be really good at Stormgate, this is what you're going to do. But you can play traditionally if you want, and completely ignore this. So, now, if you notice, you know, I can't do my old, like, if I'm used to playing a game like StarCraft, I'll have all my barracks on one hotkey, right? Well, guess what? I can't double tap to go back to them, so it's really important you have your camera location stuff, or just click the mini-map, and it's a really common way to do it too. You know, it's not a big deal. It tends to work really well. And again, rally point, same thing, right? I want to change my rally point. You know, I want, in my expansion, I want my workers to go here, right? Well, now my workers go here. If I didn't want my 3rd base to, like, well, then I have my, you know, camera location, I can go manually change that, right? There's lots of ways to move around and do it, but you're using all the tools that are available to you, and it makes the game much easier. It takes a lot of the edge off the macro. It's I don't know. At first, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I've really been selling on the system, especially as they add more improvements to it, right? Now, finally, if you notice, these are our barracks units, right? We don't have a bunch of upgrades that we can do. We need a second resource, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab that, just to make life a little bit easier here for us. Right? But I want to make some units, right? Okay, cool. Well, I want them to rally over here because there's scoop camp, and, you know, now I can, you know, cancel them out. We actually have to set another hotkey for that, which we'll do, but again, you know, the barracks units, I have factory units here, I've got some starport units, and if I want to get into my upgrades, I'm going to be able to just press 7, tab over, right? So 6, oh, I need upgrades, boom, right? I have access to everything, I can even tab all the way back across. Right? Just makes your life really, really easy, regardless of basically anything else going on. Right? Yeah, here we go, we got a bunch of guys here, we can go attack that, go back over here, I don't know, I want to build that. You know what? I'm thinking I need a couple of these here, right? So fast, so easy. Makes your life very, very simple and straightforward. Get used to it. At the very least, try it. You know, camera locations make that system work really, really well. It's, you know, feels like it's designed from the perspective of somebody who's played a bunch of RTS games, is pretty good at them. You know, unlike myself, who's just sitting here and can't control anything. Like, my units won't go anywhere. Just kidding. Obviously, they will, but alright. Okay, oh, like, we don't have anything here. I need to make a bunch of workers. You know, get them all over there. Whatever you want to do, just super easy.
Construction complete.
Super fast. In general, like, it makes life very easy. So, get used to it would be my biggest recommendation, especially for other races, but it works really well for Vanguard too, right? Now, we're just going to quickly pause the game here because it doesn't, you know, really matter. And we're going to go into the hotkeys, we're going to hit Vanguard, and I'm just going to quickly rip through this as fast as possible. We've cleared out a lot of hotkeys, and this looks very intimidating, and if you're in the campaign, it looks even more intimidating. However, if you just start with like your 1v1, these are all your basic like run-of-the-mill units, run-of-the-mill upgrades. If we do this part and get it exactly how we want it, it'll make everything else really, really easy in terms of, you know, setting up our campaign, right? If that's what you're looking to do, you want to play it, perfect. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, if you notice, like the reason to go to the by command instead of grid is grid, you're only ever setting this, and you only ever set what those keys do. You do no customization. These are still a grid, and it's still set up like a grid, right? Like you just have more customization if you change it off grid. A little bit weird, but you know, it works. So the first thing is, this is just EXO. This is just in general. It's kind of a not the greatest hotkey, but or tool tip there, because that's not EXO. That is the entire Vanguard thing. It's funny. Does it say Inferno there? Oh wow. You know what? There's probably an EXO hiding out there. Now it's a Lancer. It's interesting. Not the biggest deal in the world. This is just your overall like Quickmacro, right? I don't know why it's calling it a Lancer now, but hey, that's funny. So this is all your Quickmacro stuff. This is what I was just showing you, and this is what we're going to set up next to feel like how we want it to, or how, you know, StarCraft used to feel, or how, you know, Command and Conquer used to feel. Whatever game you want, like, we'll go from there. So for me, you know, command centers are always on C, right? However, if you notice, there's two options here, right? There's this button and this button. You want to use the assign all pretty much every single time you can. It didn't work previously, but now it does. So what we're going to do is just go assign all, C, perfect. Now my command center, you know, to build a command center, it's C. To build my habitat, which is a supply building, so, you know, provides food, totally fine with it being on S, but I'm still just going to go ahead, assign all S. Now we're going to go to barracks. You know, for me, barracks, always a B, right? Build my mech bay. Now, it's kind of funny because sometimes you forget, but this is basically your factory, right? But again, I'm going to assign all F. I'm going to go to my hangar bay. That's typically, it's more of a starport type building. I'm going to throw that on R, right? So when I want to build, you know, my hangar bay, it's R, because I'm used to building starports with R. I'm used to building factories, right, with F. It's all decently laid out still, but this is the one hotkey that I'm going to just really tell you to get rid of, is Z. Z is typically used for move now, and I had a lot of like difficulties with it, because if you leave it on one thing by accident, like hotkeys can double up, and it's just, yeah, anything on Z that's not a move command, we're just going to try to shuffle away from that. In this case, sentry post is kind of like a bunker. You know, I'm going to put it on you, because that's, no, I'm just kidding. A is usually what I have bunkers on. Sorry. Put it on whatever's comfortable. Scrapyard is basically your lumber mill. I'm fine with it on X, but I'm still going to go assign all X just to make sure. Biometrics lab is your academy. It's your, you know, it's just a building with a bunch of upgrades. It's basically got all these guys in it. So, biometrics lab, for me, I've been playing with it on D. That's not good or bad. It's just where it is. It happened to be my spare hotkey. It's fine. Now, your machine lab is like an advanced kind of like mechanical upgrade place. You know, kind of like a tech lab, or, you know, a fusion core maybe would be a good, you know, parallel. But I put it on V. You can do whatever you want with these. It does not matter. Now, I'm just going to go with Servo. Servo is my SCV. I actually built those with Q. So, Servo is Q for me. Lancer is, well, first we're going to set the EXO, because that's, you know, kind of my marine. If I build medics, they're not drop ships, but actually no, we're not going to go D, sorry. Like for medics, we're going to go F. That's usually my bind. We have the Scout, which is kind of a fast, like, mobile unit. Scouts is very obvious. For me, like, it feels comfortable on C. I don't know why. I typically avoid putting stuff on S because S is stop, right? I typically avoid putting stuff on A because A is attack. I've just played a bunch of StarCraft 2 a long time ago, and A is one of my favorite, hotkeys for making Marines, just how I had it set up. Now, the Graven is, it's different than a Ghost, but it's, it's called a Graven. We're going to go ahead and put it over on G, because Ghosts are on G. It's your spellcastery, stealthy unit, a little bit different. You see it in the campaign. It's called a Graven. I'm going to put it on G. That works for me. That's what I'm used to. Hedgehog is sort of like your Hellion, but it can shoot up. It's actually, it used to not look great, but like microing them now, they're so fun. They like skid and take corners, and they're amazing, right? So, but for me, for a Hedgehog, we're going to slap that on E. Kind of call it a Hellion, even though it's a lot different. Vulcans are, they're on the box art for a reason. Like, one of the best units Vanguard's got. They're awesome. Really, really cool. They've got a little dash and stuff like that. It's up to you how you want to, hotkey them. Again, it's by default on S. I'm going to move it, and I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to put it on. In this case, I'm going to put it on D, which means I'm going to have to move something else, which is the Atlas, which is similar to a siege tank, but it's much better in like drop situations. You can do a lot of tank evac stuff with them. They're really, really good at that. If you want to do a ton of cool micro, they're awesome. I don't need them on D, so I'm just going to slide it over to R. Should be fine. And we're going to go over to the Hornet. Hornet's, it's sort of like a Viking, but not really. In my case, I'm going to put the Hornet on A, even though it's not the best place. I'm just kind of used to that type of unit being on A. So if you have Vikings, it's kind of maybe where you put your Hornet. You can also put it where Banshees are. It's a little bit like that. Evac is sort of like a medevac, but not the same thing. They're different. I'm going to leave it on X for now. The Sentinel is, it's got a couple of really cool spells. It's not made the most, but I'm going to leave it on C for now. That's fine for me. Put it on whatever you want, right? I'm just going to go back and make sure I hit assign all on everything. And Helicarrier is sort of like a carrier. It drops, I don't know, they're cool, but it's your big bad unit. It's not nothing like a battlecruiser. It's nothing like, it's a lot different than almost anything you've seen. There's a, maybe if you played a little Command & Conquer 3, you've seen some stuff like that. It's a really cool unit, but for me, I'm comfortable with it on B. And then finally, we're going to get down to the upgrade stuff. Now, the upgrade stuff can have multiple lines within the same tier, right? So there can be an upgrade after this medtech that will show up here. This is important to remember. So the way I do upgrades is a little bit grid-like. You can assign them however you want. The one thing I will say is typically get them off Z. You don't really want stuff on Z. So I have my own way of doing upgrades. I start with E and I just go far to the right. So we're going to go E, R, T, and then Y. And then down here, even though they're in different areas for me, I go D, F, and G. And the reason I do that is, again, S is stop moving, A is attack, Z is move. Q and W I use a lot for spell casting. I'm trying to clear stuff away from like hotkeys I use a lot that are important to me, and make sure I can hit the upgrade really quickly and easily. I don't need the upgrade to be on Q and Z and all that stuff, right? For me, and totally different for you. Again, sort of the same thing. We're going to go E, R, T. Doesn't really even matter what these upgrades are. I go D, F, and then G, right? So you can kind of see my system for it. It's how I do it. You can put your upgrades on whatever you want. All of the upgrades are not like +1. They do their own unique things. Enjoy the game, find out about them. We're not here to talk about that, right? This is just about making the hotkeys work really, really well. Now that we've put all that work in, we can jump back in the game, and we'll go back up here. And you'll notice everything is set up the way I want it now. This is how I would play, right? Let's go ahead and upgrade that building. go ahead
Construction
and
complete.
what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over here. Let's just get a couple of these guys up. I'm just trying to build some stuff to get it going, so I can kind of talk about how easy everything is to hockey, right? But and this is what I would recommend doing, by the way. Just jump in a game, have no opponent. There's a bunch of creeps and stuff to walk around and kill. Have a good time. Make sure you get everything, figured out in the way that makes sense to you, and you're used to it. And now you can be like, oh, okay, cool. All right, I want to make some, some Vulcans, so I'm going to do that, right? And I'm going to set my hockey and my rally over here, right? And get some med techs going. I'm going to get everything going, right? Now we're going to attack these creeps. Here it goes. You know what? I do actually have some hotkeys for my top bar. It's a little bit different. I'm just going to do something silly and just get them all veterancy. But let's see. Where are we at for resources? Right? You can see how this works. Pretty simple, straightforward. Be yourself, have fun. Everything here is just going to work really, really well. If you want to do a full-on traditional, like everything is like none of the macro stuff works. I'll show you how to do that, but I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'll drop it in a different video and just go over some of the more. If you want to be full traditional, I'll give you the links. I'll make everything work. I'll have a quick video covering them. But this is the way that Stormgate that plays really well if you set up like this. You're just going to have a good time, man. Like, just go ahead. Makes it easy, right? I don't think we have anything else left to cover about this particular type of macro, other than like, hey, look, I want to put a bunch of workers here. All right, I got 9 there. Let's just even it out. Yeah, I want 2 more, right? The way workers work now is they actually stack up. Every race gets that mechanic. It's interesting. What it does do is make like late game harass and losing workers not as big of a deal if you have a bunch of worker producing structures, which is interesting. It's different. Everybody's on the same page with that, which is cool. Like, nobody has an advantage race wise, right? That's all awesome. So, alright, we're just going to jump out of this game, and I'm going to jump into a video about Infernals and the same sort of thing.